Do you mind if I ask you a little bit like how that was, just for my feedback?
Cool. Of course.
So I know that Josh has seen the film before, seen two other of our friends like enact it. Were you able to like gauge what it's about while you were reading it, though? I know it's
I think so. I mean, it's sort of a love story, but it only exists in the writing. Like the two lovers only exist in the writing, and then it's about how they have their own consciousness, and then they're using people, but they feel limited by that, I guess.
That's perfect. I'm really glad that. My worry is sometimes that I'm not getting through what my idea, so I just wanted to see if you got it from watching.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, just to say, I think it's really well written. Because it starts off being a bit unclear, but then you get it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm glad that like the gist came through. For me, like, I think fictional characters are just really interesting to think about. Have either of you ever felt like a real connection to a fictional character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I really love like Haruki Murakami, and then I feel like any of his characters, I feel like connected to, even though they're like surreal, like
and exaggerated as well. They're really
yeah. No, but I think I only read books where I feel connected to the character, because if not, then I lose interest.
Yeah, and I think of course the idea is to have as many couples enact it as possible, because the idea is that through repetition they gain their own history.
Yeah.
So they only live in the space of the enactment. Right now they're asleep. They don't exist outside performance. So as much screen time they get, they are aging. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So I really want to experiment with getting as many people to read it. And the idea is actually, I want to stop filming this. I would like people to download it and just read it and tape it and upload it to my YouTube channel for them. And I want it to be almost like a meme, so like that would be ideal. If people just did it by themselves, or just went out and inscribed on a tree, Ross and Lawrence were here, and took a photo or something. So to leave lots of trace of them, that's the idea.
I guess I was tempted just reading it, like, you know, like, maybe they'll carve our name on a tree. Like I felt like it was a real person calling out to me through the script and kind of pleading with me, and I felt really sorry for them, and I wanted to do it. Like I wanted to actually.
I guess it's sort of
carve
like
it into the tree. And
like if you ever see graffiti where like it's referring to something else, and then you're like, oh, I got it. Well, I feel like it's sort of, for me, it would be one of those things where it's like hoping someone else would see it and like get what I'm talking
they've
about.
They've read the script and they're like, yeah, I know what that's about.
Yeah, because in a way, a lot of what we experience comes in the form of stories. So anything you know about your parents' history is a story, because they tell you it so you get it kind of second hand. But it's still really real. So I was wondering, how much can you use a text to push something to become as real as possible by using shared kind of memory, you know? So do you think that that's possible to kind of make them emerge, sort of make them more real? And do you have any like ideas? Just
I think so.
hit them with me.
I think so. I think they become real in our heads, just like any literary character. And I think the power of this couple as well is they kind of, you play on quite a lot of like pre-existing literary tropes that people are familiar with, like the kind of the two lovers that are cursed to, you know, it's like the time traveler's wife or something, like, you know, that kind of tragic love story which people are familiar with. So even though it's short, you can quite quickly conjure up an image based on things you've watched and things you've read. And it's just it's a really good exploration of the medium of writing, and also just fiction in general. It's very meta. So
those are some really good points, actually.
that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that, about the tropes. Yeah, but you're right. It's something like the cliches kind of empower it in a way, which I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Or just the fact that they both clearly have like set personalities. I feel like that also makes you sort of imagine things, like, which makes them more alive in a sense.
You're good at creating characters.
Well, you guys kind of... The idea is actually you gave them lives. That's what you did. As I wouldn't call you actors, but I would call you enactors.
Yeah.
You allowed them to be for 15 minutes or so. So I think of it almost like a charity. Like you don't... The idea is actually, if I would ever have this in like a festival, I would set up a photo booth with a video booth. So people just go in 2 by 2 and read it and go away and read it and go away. And if you think about it, in a photo booth you normally go to record your identity, but here you're actually donating your identity to others. So the idea is it's almost like a kind of, a generous thing to do to a couple of characters, which I think it is generous because you kind of, it's a very humble thing. You step out of the way, you are Andrea persona steps out of the way, your Josh persona steps out of the way, and you let some completely non-material thing take the stage.
Flowing through you, this character.
Yeah.
To be cheesy. But
No, that's great.
I'm interested in like where the script itself exists. Like, would it be the same if this story about Rosa and, like, imagine all copies of the script suddenly disappeared and all that existed of them was just our memories of reading the script and your memory of writing the script, and maybe like it, or if it was like a spoken word kind of story that was just, you told people and they pass on the story, like, all spoken word tales, like how that would change the work and how their characters, like, would they still exist, or would they be dead once the script's gone, or are they kind of eternally bound to it, or are they kind of, once they've been resurrected, are they more than the script?
That's a fantastic thought experiment. It didn't occur to me. I was so busy with the thought of how to make them live that I didn't think about what they depend on, and that's true. They kind of, they do kind of. I mean, it's a great thought experiment.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I was thinking about scripting in a programmer's sense as well. So programmers these days are trying to script for artificial intelligence.
Oh, right.
So it's a kind of parallel that they're coding, and coding is also like predestined, right? You say, if this happens, that happens. So how can some consciousness come from that? It seems such a kind of counterintuitive thing, and yet they're doing it. It's almost like trying to find a loophole in some really kind of formal medium as code or text to make something live. And it's interesting what you say, the script is formal because you can't change the words.
Yeah.
But the variability happens in you guys because you read it in a unique way. And that's kind of where they get, I think, the variability there has something to do with making them alive. Like, if it were read in the exact same way, again and again and again, I don't think it would be as real. So there's something about it changing over time that makes it real. But what you mentioned as well about, like, oral tradition, like, what if, we all, like, lost text and then it was just handed down? That's a really interesting question. Because for a long part of our history, that is how humans shared history and stories. It's a really good question.
And I feel like what would be interesting with that idea though would be, but this implies that you have to ask people for more. If like they were to remember it, like word for word, by like, and then you would have to try and recite it, but then obviously you would mess up. Or like most people would. And then those are the little things that would change.
That's like a really great suggestion as well.
But because I feel like if it was spoken word, people, what they tend to do is like summarize things.
Yeah.
Because that's how your brain
or
works.
embellish it, like
Yeah.
with their
Yeah.
own.
So it would change a lot quicker,
Yeah.
which might not be what you're looking after, I feel like.
I don't know. I think what I'm personally looking after is for it to completely get out of my control. Because I almost want to delete myself as an author, you know, because as long as there is an author, it's a fiction. But when there's no author, that's when it gets a life of its own.
Yeah.
So I like your idea a lot, actually, about, because actually, like, remembering is kind of going to would create variability, is what you're saying. That's a really good suggestion. I'm really...
Yeah. No, I think, I think of it like a kind of, like the script's almost like a seed, or like a virus.
Yeah.
And, you know, once it's given to someone and they read the script, then the characters spread, because they now exist in our minds and in our memory of reading the script, as well as, you know, in the script itself. So it's like, I can imagine it spreading, you know, in like an ideal world where it kind of takes off. I can imagine it just like spreading but taking on lots of different forms as well. And yeah, it's like, this is almost like the little seed where it kind of, which it grows from. But yeah.
That's a good point, and like what Lawrence said, maybe memory is always a kind of vandalism. So this kind of just, I mean, not my text in particular, but any text is kind of like pushes into your brain, and it's there now.
Yeah.
It's just like when somebody tells you something and you're like, thanks, too much information. It's too late because it's already planted there, you know.
Yeah.
So I like that idea as well, and I think that's what memes are like. They're like they act like viruses. So maybe that's what I try to engineer, a virus.
Yeah.
Kind of like textual virus.
Textual virus. I like it.
No.
We've done such a sweet love story into
Like-
an epidemic now.
Yeah,
It's the
it's
next
like
Ebola.
malware.